Paulie packs. All right, so as you guys know, I've been going through these vintage cards and I broke them out into some lots. And I've been posting a bunch on eBay. I think I got them, I think I put something from the 74 through 80 and then some hockey and basketball and whatnot. Most of them have sold already. They've been going through pretty quickly. And I still have some of the late 70s and the 80s, I think, still out there, but those I imagine will be going quickly. So I'm starting to get some offers on them. But one thing was weird or odd was as I was posting the 78 set and the 79 set, I was looking at eBay for some similar lots so I could kind of steal their listing and just, so I didn't have to reinvent the wheel when I was listing it on eBay. And I came across a player named Glenn Burke. So I saw that there was a bunch of his cards posted. Somebody had sold like 4 of these rookies for like 35 bucks. And these 2 cards singly, whoops, I'll put them more on camera, go for about like 10 bucks or something like that. And I was looking at him and I don't remember him as far as playing goes, right? I mean, he's a little before my time, before I really started following baseball. But like, so I was like, was he an all-star? Did he happen to die young? What happened? Like, was there something going on? And these, I think, are the only 2 cards he has. I try to look for, I think he played 4 seasons, and he was out of baseball by 1982. So I was wondering if he had maybe an 81 or an 80 card, and I couldn't find him. So the story with him actually is, which I thought was a little interesting, was after he retired in 82, he came out as a gay baseball player. So he was one of the first players to come out as gay. But I mean, by that time he retired, and I think part of the reason why he had to retire was because he was being conflicted with, being gay and playing in the major leagues. And I think he even said something to the fact of, and I'm paraphrasing here, but once he said to anybody who says like a gay man can't play pro sports, I know that's not true because I made it to the majors, something like that, right? When he came out to retire, so that was kind of his way of coming out. So early in his career, so he came up through the Dodgers, and apparently he was a pretty big clubhouse presence. The guys really liked him. He got along with everybody, and he even befriended Tommy Lasorda's son, who was openly gay. So he had a lot of good relationships there in the Dodgers clubhouse, but I think there was still some turmoil between trying to keep the image of a straight player versus being gay and having to fight fight the struggle of knowing who you are internally, but trying to personify an image to the public. And I think even too, there was a rumor or some story about how the owner of the Dodgers offered to pay for a lavish honeymoon for him if he got married. And I think Glenn's response was, to a woman? So obviously they were trying to put this image out there of him, which he didn't want to concede to. And then when he did get traded to the Oakland, and I guess he didn't really have the same fitting in as he did with the Dodgers. He kind of never really established himself there in the clubhouse or with the other players. So I think there was always some animosity there, some underlying issues, a lot of stories being rumored about, I guess, about him and how he got along with people or didn't get along with people. And so eventually it kind of forced him out of baseball. And I'm sure there's some stories out there, some autobiographies about some of the discrimination he may have faced during his playing days, which I don't really know much about. I only just found out about him recently. But the other cool thing about this was, so not only did he come out as one of the first open gay players, and after in 1982 he actually played in a bunch of different I guess the gay games, I guess they called them. It's, I guess, a variation of the Olympics, but he won a bunch of medals. He ran track, he was on the basketball team, etc. But he is credited for one of the founding people of the high five. And I think there was an ESPN 30 for 30 on this. So as the story goes, Dusty Baker hit his 30th home run of the year. And I guess Glenn was coming up on deck. And so as Dusty Baker's rounding third, or coming towards home, Glenn has his hands raised up and is celebrating. And I guess, Dusty Baker didn't really know what to do per se. Here's Glenn with his arms raised up, being happy. And so he just slapped his hand as he walked by, or as he ran by towards home. Or after touching home, I suppose. So it was, so those two, Glenn Burke and Dusty Baker, are then credited for creating the high five or slapping five. So I was unaware of that. So that's what I kind of thought was the most interesting about this. So a very, very short playing career. But I think he did say that he felt better once he did actually come out in the public and tell his story a little bit. But I'm sure he still faced a lot of adversity and everything else. I think he died of AIDS in around 95 or so. So he died relatively young as well, on top of having a short playing career. But certainly a person of note as far as maybe the gay community goes. And I had no idea about it, so I just learned about this honestly today. And so I thought, but to me, the most interesting part was that he was the inventor of the high five. I had no idea. I mean, who knows where the high five came from, and who knows if they were actually the first people to do it. I'm sure they weren't, but to make it most notable and the most bringing some notoriety and giving it a name, I thought that was pretty cool. So I kind of pulled him aside. It's definitely a guy I'm going to keep an eye out for now. One of these kind of cards where the value, he's not a huge rookie. He's not, it's not Ozzie Smith's rookie or, someone from this era or from this, year. But one of these players that just had an impact to the game. One of the first pioneers, I guess, if you want to say, for gay athletes. So he has some notes. So he has some note in the hobby, and his cards are worth a little bit more because of that, because of who he is and what he did. And you see that every once in a while with some players where, they become fan favorites, or they have a great story behind them. Mark Fidrich was another one too. He had just that one great year, and everyone kind of still goes after his cards, even though he really didn't amount to too much in his career. He really faded there after his rookie season, after his debut season. But every once in a while you find players like this who hit the mark with the public, maybe to this point long after his career, but though these cards are in pretty good shape too. So it's just something I wanted to pull aside and just make mention of it, because I had no idea about him, and I don't know if anybody out there knows about him either, but pretty cool. So I'm actually going to look up the 30 for 30 on the high five and see how that came to be. But so hopefully I gave you guys a little education today as well, as far as who he is and what this came about. And you know what, I'm going to end up posting these cards on eBay and seeing what we can get. All right, guys. Well, until the next one, I'll see ya.